Ray Dalio on Future of Economy. Ray Dalio just predicted the collapse of America and detailed exactly how the economic system is faltering. History always repeats itself, and while humans always innovate, emotions never change. But before that, hello and welcome to MoneyIQ. Join our channel by hitting subscribe and clicking the bell icon to be updated on our new uploads. Ray Dalio is a bit of a polarizing figure in the investment world. He is the multi-billionaire founder and co-chief investment officer of Bridgewater Associates, the largest hedge fund in the world, with over $140 billion in assets under management. He is polarizing for several reasons, from the way he runs his company to his views on the world of global finance. He might have correctly called the 2008 financial crisis, but he's made a lot of predictions that never panned out too. Even so, he's made a name for himself as a global big picture investor and has studied markets not just for the past 20 years, but going back hundreds of years. This has given him insight into what our current economy looks like compared to generations past and what might become. In this video, we'll give you the latest about what this history buff / investor has to say about what the world looks like now. There are three main indicators that Dalio is closely watching. First of all, the wealth and opportunity gap is creating significant division within the United States. While household wealth is broadly increasing in the US, the upper class has grown their wealth disproportionately compared to the lower class. The household wealth of the bottom 50% of the United States is lagging by a considerable amount. The wealth gap is becoming so significant that the top 10% of the US now owns 70% of the entire US wealth. One of Dalio's biggest concerns close to home is the wealth gap. We can hear you chuckling, and it makes sense that you'd left a man worth $17 billion saying in 60 Minutes that income inequality should be declared a national emergency. In his studies of historical economies, he says that when you have such an enormous wealth gap and combine it with an economic downturn, there will be conflict. Ray Dalio, on the other hand, seems to feel that those who are selling out of Chinese positions are doing so out of fear rather than out of strategic thinking. It's the same as an investor. It's not smart to sell on the break or buy. It's a strategic play, contrary to some investors' opinions. I want to bring in now for the scary part. One of Dalio's worst case scenarios is that the US and China might be on the brink of an open conflict. The trade war that started during the Trump administration in 2018 was essentially one of the first and most obvious moves in this global chess match with China. But a chess match is exactly what we've been watching playing out over the last several years. So you can see how this situation is basically a tanker full of gasoline and it only needs a spark. Before you click away to grab a trash bin, take a few deep breaths. And remember, this is Dalio's worst case scenario. The world is far, far different than it was hundreds of years ago. However, the global superpowers still understand, for the most part, that peace is generally better for business than a global war. A lot of things would need to happen for active war to become an option. That being said, financial catastrophes are not uncommon. Putting sandbags outside your house might be overdoing it, but you can put up some defenses around your portfolio. And Dalio has some tips for you there. Dalio's tip number 1. Cash is not king. Dalio avidly recommends against anyone holding on to cash or cash equivalents. The math here is easy, and it's because of the rising inflation we're experiencing. Cash doesn't earn any interest by design. It's meant to be fungible and very liquid, but that means you take no risk and gain no returns. With inflation sitting above 6%, any cash you hold on to is essentially losing 6% per year. Dalio's tip number 2. Risk management. One of the first things Dalio recommends you do is to understand how to manage the risk that's in front of you. You should think critically about what the worst case scenarios are and then figure out ways that you can minimize or even eliminate those scenarios from harming your portfolio. Diversification is one of the first steps in this, but there are other ways to give your portfolio a bit more protection. Dalio's tip number 3. Diversification is your friend. Many of the smartest investors, including Warren Buffett, will tell you that diversification is not the best way to see good returns on your investment. His flagship fund, Pure Alpha, is an actively managed fund of diversified assets. It has only lost a handful of years over its entire life. No one can know all things at all times about the market, so make sure you take this advice to heart and gather information from several sources before making decisions. And in Dalio's words, triangulate by taking the 3 smartest people or sources you know and comparing what you learned from them. A cheeky like and subscription will be very much appreciated if you did enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you next time right here on the Money IQ. Bye bye.